Oh, we're early.
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Welcome to The Unspoken Truth. I'm your host, Robert Russ, and I'm joined with my good mate over in Minnesota, Ed Anderson. How you doing today, Ed?
Living the dream, Robbie. You caught me by surprise there. You pushed the button there a few minutes earlier than usual.
I'm just checking to see if you're like on board here with me. Like there's a lot going on your desk there. There's a lot happening.
I'm here getting organized, playing with my gold coins and my silver, trying to get all that off my table. I got too much silver and gold laying around. It's a nuisance having all this.
All that pirate money everywhere, mate. Ladies and gentlemen, make sure you get some pirate money in your pocket and in your safe at home as well. Reduce your exposure to the banks. Get some gold and silver and create some passive recurring income. That's the mantra of The Unspoken Truth. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. If this is your first time here, Ed and I like to pull back the curtain and have a look at the real story that's going on behind the narrative. And boy, oh boy, have we got some doozies for you today. We're also available as a podcast, so pop on over to your favorite podcasting app, whether that's Spotify, Apple, Stitcher, or something else, and you'll be able to find The Unspoken Truth. We're distributed across about 20 different podcasting platforms. There's a lot of places out there that you can get some unspoken truth in your ears. We're also over on Twitter and on Telegram. And I really encourage you, ladies and gentlemen, to come and join us over on Telegram, because I share a whole lot of content that I simply cannot share over here. And I'll give you an example of the content that I found that I shared in that channel over there. There's a video, an uncensored and an uncut video of a Ukrainian commander inside of a trench, inside of a dugout, so to speak. It's a bit dark, you can't see, but you can kind of see the guys that are in there, and he's saying to them, right, it's your turn to go back to the front. Come on, off you go. And they're all saying to him, piss off, we're not going to go. We're not doing it. We're not going back there. We're not going to be killed. And he comes out the front of the trench, the officer, and the guy hands him a hand grenade. He pulls the pin and throws a hand grenade in there. And that's the type of thing that I'll show you for real on the inside of the Telegram channel.
Wait, that's a real video?
That's a real video. That's really going on. I don't speak Ukrainian, but if I go and get the translation, that's what the translation is telling me from there as well. So, yeah, if you want to know the story behind what the narrative is actually telling you, it's not very pleasant at all. And you can find all that type of information over on Telegram, where we simply cannot be censored and we can say whatever the hell we want. It's unfortunate that Telegram doesn't have a video or live ability to do what we're doing right now, because we could go live. Well, I can go live in there, but just not in the same way as I can here with StreamYard. I'd have to do something specific for that, which I probably should do, and give people the real goings on behind the story. But let's get into today's show, Ed. We've got a lot to cover, a lot to talk about. There's a new Bitcoin ETF that's come out, and it is very good, and it's also very, 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 very bad, all at the same time. So we're going to talk a little bit about that. Ed's got a great report for us that he wants to share with us, and this is some big news, folks. And the mainstream has always said that they wanted a Bitcoin ETF because it's just too hard to buy Bitcoin. We don't know how to do it, but we want part of this wild, wild west, says everybody else that's out there. But the reality is it's not that hard to buy Bitcoin. Swap a bit of fiat currency for some crypto and then go and buy some at an exchange. There's plenty of places that you can do that, and you can learn to do it in the first 10 minutes of your life if you really wanted to. But the reality is people just say it's too hard to get involved in crypto, and that's why the ETF actually exists. So I'm looking forward to that conversation with you, Ed, and finding out some more about that. I've got a report on the Ministry of Truth here in Australia, and I'm not joking, ladies and gentlemen. This is a real thing. I'll show you the draft legislation that they're actually trying to put together, what it is that they're trying to do here in Australia, and just how unbelievably stupid Australian politicians are. And I'm not talking about that from the perspective of George Orwell's 1984 trying to control you, but who is the arbiter of truth? Who says what's true and what's not true? That's Ed. Ed has applied for that job.
Yeah, I applied for the job. Yeah. Okay. I'm waiting for the interview. Yeah, I'm waiting.
If I went out and said that the communications minister or the e-safety commissioner lied about their qualifications and their credentials, would that be true? Or would that be mis or disinformation? I'm saying that the degree that lady says that she has is not actually true. I'm saying it's not actually a degree. It's not real. The degree, she's saying that she's the e-safety commissioner, but she's saying that she has these qualifications. But I'm saying, no, you don't. That's not real. And that university that you got those qualifications from is not qualified to give you that. So you spent 4 years of your life doing something that's not true. Is that true? Or is that dis or misinformation? Are they going to take that information down? Are they going to get rid of that? No one body government or otherwise, could possibly know any of that. And, you know, it just highlights how unbelievably stupid Australian politicians are. They are the stupidest, dumbest politicians on planet Earth. Everyone from the defense minister to the prime minister to now the communications minister. And it just boggles my mind that the Australian constituents and the Australian population are so dumb that they would not spend just 1 minute looking at how stupid the policies are of this country. You know, I used to think that this was the luckiest country in the world, the best country in the world, the best everything. Had Australian flags in my apartment. I'd wear my medals proudly and all of that stuff. I'll never wear my medals ever again and never, ever have an Australian flag anywhere. This is if this actually comes to pass, it will become my life's mission to destroy it. That's how angry it makes me, because repression and suppression of free speech in a country that's supposed to be the freest and the best country in the world goes against everything that our forefathers fought for. And it just shows me that these people have zero idea about history, and they don't know anything. They don't understand the second and third order effects of what it is that they're trying to implement. Anyway, I've got a pretty long ride on my high horse today with you, ladies and gentlemen, and hopefully you come along that ride with me, because it's an important topic that you need to discuss. And if you think that totalitarianism can't happen in your country, if you think that we can't turn into a communist socialist society like China, you're wrong. And it's happening right before our eyes in slow motion. It's unfolding. It's like a slow motion train crash that's happening. And unless you speak up and do something about this, we're going to allow these people to get away with it, and it's going to shut us all down. And then when you shut down, the only thing that you have to do is comply with what they want you to do, because of one reason. The only reason that the government ever wants this to happen for you is because they want to keep you safe. And when I show you this report, you'll see that all they care about is keeping you safe. But I say that by itself is a lie. That's mis and disinformation. The government doesn't care about your safety. That's the first thing. They don't care about your safety. If they cared about your safety, they wouldn't have allowed certain medicine to be not tested, but tested on human beings. If they cared about your safety, they simply wouldn't do that. And if they cared about your safety, they would allow me to talk about whatever I wanted to talk about, irrespective of truth, mis, or disinformation, because I'm allowed to have an opinion as a free person in the world. Anyway, I think I'm getting a little bit ahead of myself. So let's kick off this show. Ed, have you got any opening remarks on what I'm talking about there? Because that's going to be a fiery conversation. But we've got to be careful here, you and me, because we're inside our own echo chamber, because you and I believe both the same things. It would be interesting to get somebody from the other side that thinks that this is a good idea to have a conversation with. But I promise you, it's like asking RFK to get Peter Hotez to debate him. Who's going to debate you on free speech? Who can actually come up with an argument that says that censoring somebody for mis and disinformation is a good idea? No one, except the government.
Oh, well, there are people out there who do believe it, and they're called liberals.
Kim Jong-un,
there you
Vladimir Putin,
yeah.
Xi Jinping. They're the people that think censoring people is a good idea. And they're the people that have implemented tools to do that. If you go out and speak out against the Russian government and the Russian invasion of Ukraine, they'll put you in jail for 15 years.
Yep.
And I got some information today to talk about that, to say, speak out against the government. We should immediately cease supporting the Ukrainians. Immediately. That video that I talked about at the top of the show here should be a viral video that goes around to every Australian household. And we should immediately cease all communication with Ukrainians and all support for all Ukrainians. It is absolutely fucking disgusting that we spend hundreds of millions of taxpayer dollars supporting a regime that's committing war crimes. Why are we doing that? Why? Is that mis or disinformation? That's disinformation, Robert. You can't say that. I put that on Richard Miles gave a press conference yesterday saying that he was going to give Ukraine another $113 million or whatever it was. And I said, what? And I commented, all while they're committing war crimes. And somebody commented in there and said, what are you talking about? And it's like, because you watch Channel 9 News, you don't see the war crimes. If you took just 5 minutes out of your day to look at Telegram, you'll see the war crimes in real time. If you just look at Twitter right now, you'll see the war crimes there. You don't even have to go to Telegram. Just go to Twitter. You'll see it. Unbelievable, man.
And those people who do believe in censoring, free speech, those people will never show up for debates because they know they cannot win an actual honest debate. Within their first retort to whatever point you make, it's going to be you're a racist or you're a white supremacist.
Why is that though?
That's good because when you throw out those ad hominem attacks, it ends the debate. there's nowhere to go after they make that kind of a statement. So that's their go-to move. Because when someone resorts to ad hominem attacks in a debate, that means they've lost. They cannot make an actual argument. And liberals, they have no logic. Their belief system is very shallow. It's all on the surface. As soon as you dig down a little bit, when you ask them to substantiate, their beliefs, they can't do it because they know it unravels pretty quickly. You just, I mean, I guess they don't believe in taking those Logic 101 classes in college. They have no sense of critical thinking. These are robots. They are they whatever comes down from on high from their leaders. That's what they take and solve, and that's why these liberals keep getting elected. And that's the only explanation about how these Californians can keep electing these same people over and over again, year after year. They're so ideologically driven. They're blinders. They cannot, so people nowadays, they don't vote anymore for their own self-interest. They will vote for people who promote policies that are actively working against the public. I don't know. That's
and there was a video yesterday. It makes me, so what you're saying there, it makes me question all of that. Let me push back a little bit here for a sec, because there was a video yesterday, I think it was in Texas or something like that, as a protest or Gay Pride Month or some garbage like that. And there was a bunch of burly American dudes. I don't know who they were. And then there was a bunch of protesters. I don't know who they were. They claimed to be MAGA on one side and Antifa on the other side. And they sure look like that. They sure fit the stereotypes of all of those things, right? And there's a bunch of guys in Antifa gear all wearing the same clothes. They're wearing a black long sleeve shirt, a black balaclava, and they're wearing like brown kind of pants. So they all look the same. So you can't really identify who they are. And they're all of the same build as well. They look, and the MAGA guys are kind of pushing them back. And if you haven't seen the video, folks, the MAGA guys are pushing them back and the Antifa guys are kind of backing up, and then they stop backing up, and one of the MAGA guys clocks one, he punches one of them, and they sort of start moving back now. And as they're moving back, someone calls out, "Demask them," and they grab their balaclavas and pull their balaclavas off. And within about 9 nanoseconds, the photo's on Twitter, and someone's like, "Who is these people? Who are they?" And of course, it's pretty easy to find who these people are these days. There's a lot of open source intelligence gurus and ninjas out there. They go out, find the people, and they find them in other protests waving Nazi flags. And they go out there, find them doing things that are completely counter and opposite of what these Antifa leftists actually stand for. Oh. And it's very strange. And it's like, are they actually the cops, man? Are they the FBI agents? I don't know, bro. I'm just like, no. I'm just saying, are they FBI agents dressed as Antifa? Because they kind of look like, I don't want to say it, but they look like military-aged males. And when you look at police officers, they're military-age males. When you look at soldiers, they're military-age males. These Antifa guys look just like that. Short hair, cropped, cleanly shaven, everything like that you'd have to wear a uniform for. That's how you have to be. And they look exactly like that. I don't know, man. It makes me wonder, does the government have an agenda? Does the FBI or the police have an agenda to create all of this discourse to make it all happen? I don't know. I'm just saying January 6th, the precedent's been set.
Maybe, if someone did an investigative report and they infiltrated the thing, I could believe
it was done on Twitter, man. Someone did the investigation on Twitter.
Well, I mean, as far as determining whether they're government backed or whatever, listen, Antifa is an actual domestic terrorism group. If the FBI wants to, if they want to investigate domestic terrorists, there you go, man. They're organized, they're funded. These people, this is what they do for a living. They don't.
It's crazy, yeah. I've seen an Antifa guy dressed in his black getup. It was a photo of the dude. He was like, they were on a corner, so it looked like they were kind of talking to each other, like, what are we going to do? How are we going to do this? I think it was 3 or 4 of them, but one guy was tooled up, man. He had had webbing on, and he had what looked like an M4 or an AR-15 or something like that. The photo was quite like a distance away, so you couldn't tell exactly. But I'm looking at that, and I'm thinking, how did people get it? I know you have open carry laws and stuff like that in the US, Texas, but how does he get to walk around at a protest with live ammunition and an assault rifle like that? And clearly, he's part of the protest. So and then nobody does anything about it. Just
was he on the mega side or the Antifa side?
Antifa.
Yeah. Actually, I can believe it was on the mega side. More.
Yeah, I can kind of see that they walk around with pistols and
well, that's Texas. Texas has what they call the open carry law, where you can openly carry a gun on your hip. You don't have to conceal it or anything.
But you're covering your face and you're covering everything.
I'm talking about Texas in general. So if Antifa can get away with that, they can get away with that in Texas because of that open carry law. You wouldn't see them with a gun on their hip or in their hand in New York or somewhere else.
Portland or some shit like that.
But they have plenty of other weapons. They've got their batons and they've got their Molotov cocktails. So they're a violent outfit. Antifa members, they're Nazis. They are fascists. Okay, they are Nazis. If you look
the Australian Ministry of Truth is listening to you right now. You can't say that about Antifa.
Well,
this just highlights how unbelievably stupid those rules are. How do you know they're not? You don't. How do you know they are? Well, you don't. But I've seen pictures of people that are in Antifa doing Nazi stuff, holding Nazi flags and doing all that. How do you know?
Have they implemented that Ministry of Truth yet, or that's just a proposal at the moment?
No, they're just draft legislation that wants to be. They want to have it up by the end of the year.
Okay, so it's not up officially yet. So I can say whatever the hell I want then for the time being.
Well, I don't think they censor you and me. They censor the platform. They'll censor YouTube and go, oh, get rid of it.
Well, if they pass it, around Christmas time, we'll come back and delete this. We'll come back and edit this episode. Maybe.
Just leave it, man. Don't worry about it. Just go over to Rumble. We'll stay on Twitter. We'll go on Telegram. If we get shit canned on one of these platforms, it doesn't matter, man. Don't worry about it. Yeah. All right, let's shift gears and kick off into the Bitcoin ETF. I'm keen to hear some more about this because you mentioned a day or two ago that you were going to do something about this. And this is big news. Is this breaking news? Is it very good and very bad all at the same time? That's the way you kind of described it. Is that correct? Tell us a little bit about it.
Yeah. Okay. So this is an interesting topic, right? So anybody, look, whether you are involved in crypto at the moment or not, you should know about what's going on here because it kind of demonstrates what the government is willing to do. There is a conspiracy going on here. I don't want to step on my own report here. So this is important stuff. But if you are in the crypto space, you definitely want to know this news. It is relatively new. It's only this news is about a week old, but it's just now starting to come in. People are just now starting to hear about it. But still, a lot of people had not really heard about this news, and even if they haven't really thought through the pros and cons of this. It's an interesting, subject. And being a Wall Street veteran, it's all about the game. Nothing comes at face value on Wall Street. You always want to, many times bad news is good news and good news is bad news. So it's kind of a bizarre world. You learn to look at things through a different kind of a lens as a Wall Street guy, right? So, and the things that are going on right now. So with this Bitcoin ETF announcement, it's really, really cool for people who are already in or want to get in pretty soon from a money-making point of view. But from a bigger picture perspective, like our individual freedoms and sovereignty, it's not good news. So now this report is longer than my usual one. It does go for 12 minutes. I cut it down as much as I could, guys, I promise. But I think it goes on easy. I think I did a good job of making it easy to folloh.
All right. Well, why don't you pause it when there's a discussion point there, and we can.
Well, I'll tell you what.
Just keep going with that.
Yeah, and I thought about doing that. Then I thought, well, I would rather just have played it all the way through. So what I'll do, Rob, is I'll give you permission to, if you want to pause it along the way to talk about a point, I'll let you make that decision. Okay.
All right. Sounds good. Let's take a look.
All right. Let's go. Good stuff. So hang around. Okay, so BlackRock just applied for a Bitcoin ETF with the SEC. This is both really, really good news and really, really bad news. So let's talk about it. Okay, so for anybody who is in the cryptocurrency space, we just had a very important development. Arguably the most significant piece of news in the cryptocurrency space ever. And that news is that BlackRock filed for a Bitcoin ETF with the SEC. Now, I'm going to try to keep this video short and pithy, and I'm going to try to get to my conclusions as soon as possible. So just hang in there with me while I explain to you the really, really good news and the really, really bad news about this development for anybody who's in the crypto space. So let's start with the good news. And for that, I want to start by showing you a clip from CNBC.
The retail investor for 15 years now has had a head start, and they've accumulated all the Bitcoin that has been actually mined and put into circulation. But 68% of all of that Bitcoin in circulation hasn't moved in over a year. And so what that means is when Wall Street, people like BlackRock and other organizations that have now filed for these ETFs or other products, show up to the market and they want to buy Bitcoin. Bitcoin is a highly illiquid asset, and these Bitcoiners don't want to sell to Wall Street. And so the only thing that can move when you have a fixed supply asset that's highly illiquid and there's a bunch of demand that comes into the market is the price has to go up.
Okay, so listen, I completely buy that scenario. The total number of Bitcoin in existence and will ever be in existence is 21 million. Now, a lot of those Bitcoin, believe it or not, have been lost. People just lost them. They bought them, they forgot if they had them, or they put them on a wallet and they lost their seed phrase. So you take some off the table right there. And then I do believe that the majority of Bitcoin that are out there are held by people who have no interest in selling, especially to Wall Street. And I think that is the majority of the Bitcoin out there. So for purposes of this video, let's call it 40% that's available to actually trade, that people would actually be willing to share. So that leaves a number of Bitcoin very small and very finite. They're never going to grow. It's always going to be the same number. And when you have a limited supply of something and you have a large interest in it, that does mean the price is necessarily going to go up. So the good news for those of you who have Bitcoin or get in pretty soon, I'm not going to give a price prediction about where I think this guy can go, but let's just say this. I think if you buy 1 or 2 Bitcoin right now, maybe even just a half of a Bitcoin, chances are pretty good that you might be able to put your 10-year-old kid through college on that. So I do believe that Bitcoin is going to explode in price. And we'll talk about what that means for other coins here in a minute. Now, BlackRock is not the first company to apply for a Bitcoin ETF. All the other companies failed. They were not able to get approval. The difference here is that BlackRock is applying for it. BlackRock owns the world. Okay? BlackRock is the single most influential and powerful investment operation in the entire world. They work hand in glove with the SEC. I mean, essentially, BlackRock is the SEC. It is the Federal Reserve. It is the IMF, the World Bank. BlackRock is the financial market, and they do not do anything unless they know it's going to work. There's no doubt in my mind that with their influence, they will get approval with the SEC. Now, of course, it's not guaranteed, but let's put it at 85%. Now, okay, listen, there was a conspiracy for this to happen. And the people who conspired to pull this off are BlackRock and our very own government. If any of us did what BlackRock and the SEC did, we would put in jail. This is pure market manipulation. I'm going to show you another clip from CNBC, and I want you to listen closely to this discussion.
We have seen a spate of new Bitcoin ETF offerings recently, including from BlackRock. Even though everybody knows the SEC and Gary Gensler is completely hostile to the idea, everybody said, well, they're going to say no to a Bitcoin ETF, just like they said no to everybody else. But I'm wondering why now? What does BlackRock think they're going to get out of this effort?
If BlackRock all of a sudden has filed for a Bitcoin ETF that's not futures-based, it's spot Bitcoin, right. Okay? And Gensler said, no way, that's not going to happen. But at the same time, they're bringing together some pretty good partners from a custody standpoint. They've got Bank of New York Mellon, they've got Coinbase, right. They've got an agreement, a surveillance agreement with NASDAQ to help with the security aspect of it. So they're trying to show the SEC that they're putting all the safety provisions in place to give them the confidence, to give them that acceptance of their application. I think the big thing we know is Gensler said, we're not going to do anything there unless we have the exchanges regulated, and Coinbase is not regulated.
But that's my question. Do you think this is going to change their mind? I can't without the clear regulatory authority, and they're not getting a bill through Congress. So now he's just resorted to essentially suing everybody. He's trying to regulate essentially by filing complaints.
Yeah.
I don't see how this changes.
If anybody can get it done, would you bet against BlackRock?
No.
You know, they're the behemoth, right? They're the.
That's why I'm thinking. I still don't quite get.
Yeah.
I don't. How are they going to change his mind?
I mean, if they can partner with Coinbase and say, look, you agree to get regulated, what would that do to your business? Imagine institutional investments, just 1% allocation to Coinbase, and what that would mean. We're talking about a lot of money.
Yeah.
So there are a lot of people like you that are saying, is this finally the time? Is it going to happen?
Now, you should also know that BlackRock, being as big and powerful as it is, they got very close ties with the World Economic Forum. And the World Economic Forum announced years ago that they want complete control of the cryptocurrency industry. They even issued a white paper about how to do this. They gave a little roadmap about how they can take over the cryptocurrency industry, where they can have complete control. It's a step-by-step guide for every country in the world to adopt, so that the elites in the world will take complete control of the industry. This is a cabal of the most evil people on earth. They want to enslave you, and they want to control every aspect of your life. What they want to do, what their designs are, is they want to take the cryptocurrency industry, which is designed for people seeking freedom, right? The cryptocurrency industry was designed by people who don't want their assets controlled. They want to control it. They want to take the cryptocurrency, they want to bring it into the traditional financial system. There is even a very strong movement to outlaw these things. They do not want you to be able to self-custody your cryptos. At some point, I wouldn't be at all surprised if they make it illegal for you to hold on to your cryptos on your own. You're going to have to put it in some kind of an exchange. Now, let's say you buy a Bitcoin ETF. You like that idea of participating in Bitcoin, but you don't know how to do it on your own. So it's just easier to buy it on an exchange. Well, then your asset is not yours anymore. It's being held inside of that ETF. What would happen if that ETF decided to do, fractional reserve banking with your Bitcoin, and things blow up? At some point, you go to claim your Bitcoin, but there's not enough Bitcoin left over because they've loaned them all out and done all sorts of stuff with your Bitcoin. Because your Bitcoin, in that scenario, would be part of the big scheme of things, right? You always want to have control. So the SEC, very recently, they sued Coinbase. They sued Binance. They're going after a lot of the altcoins. So the SEC was laying the groundwork for a company like BlackRock. Scoop in and corner the market. Listen, if you're a very wealthy person or entity and you want to take a very large position in an asset, what you do not do is go out and start buying the asset aggressively. This is the actual playbook. What you do is first you short that product and spread little rumors about that product to drive the price down.
Hucksters, fraudsters, scam artists, Ponzi schemes.
And then you go in and start buying all the shares that you want and corner the market. And that's what the SEC has been doing. They've been paving the way for BlackRock by diminishing Coinbase and Binance and any other exchange. And of course, everything they do is going to be in your best interest, right? To protect you. So the really good news is that if you want to get into Bitcoin and a few other tokens, you could be looking at a really big windfall in a very short period of time. And at least for now, you do have the ability of still acquiring Bitcoin and self-custodying it, with a hard wallet or with another wallet like Exodus or Trust Wallet. You can still do that. And the bad part is that the powers to be want to take control of the assets so that you're limited to what you can actually do with it. But you're going to see that development coming early enough where you can get out of your Bitcoin if you want without being part of the system. And I want you to listen to this interview with Mark Yusko, where he does a very good job describing the scam. But if you're willing to play the game, you can take advantage of the scam. You can be beneficiaries of it. So let's take a look.
It's all a big plan. And my belief, right, is that Sam and Caroline were they were pawns. They were the useful idiots. They were not the masterminds. They were not the execute. They were pawns, like the Manchurian Candidate, minus the chip, of a very large game by the very, very largest organizations in the world to take control. But here's the thing. You've heard me say, 2009 to 15 was the first they ignore you phase. Bunch of nerds and geeks playing with your magic internet money. 16 to 21, then they laugh at you. God, look at you idiots playing with this stupid stuff, magic internet money, whatever. 2022 to 2027, then they fight you. Y'all took $100 billion out of my bank. That pisses me off, and you're going to pay. And so $1 billion went into Celsius and Voyager and BlockFi. Who gives a shit? 100 billion? Now we got a fucking problem. You need to be shut down, and you need to be shut down, and you need to be shut down. And so, but here's the thing. If you're here, we've already won. We've already won. That's the cool part. The inevitability of decentralization, the inevitability of crypto, the inevitability of Bitcoin, the inevitability of a decentralized world, it's happening. And they can fight it all they want, but they're going to lose. Now, can they make our life miserable in the short run? Sure. Imagine being a wealthy person on April 5th, 1933. You had a bunch of gold bars in your vault, and you were deemed a criminal. Executive Order 6102, you're a criminal. Johnny, that gold you're a criminal. You got to give it, you got to forfeit your gold to us, or we're going to arrest you. Did Johnny give him all his gold? Hell no. But he did live in fear that someone was going to show up at his door, with a gun even, and take the gold. So that's probably going to happen again. It's kind of happening now, but I think we're in a better place because collectively the communities that we're all part of are more powerful, they're more well distributed, and they're global. Look, 40% of the people in this world don't have a bank account. 40% of the adults on this planet do not have a bank account. We can help them. We can give them financial services through digital assets.
So the upshot here is we could be in a very strong accumulation period in the crypto space, primarily with Bitcoin and a few other basic coins. But a lot of the other coins will be taken along for the ride. But not all cryptocurrencies are created equally. Most cryptocurrencies are going to be gone. So you do have to be selective. The obvious winners, in my opinion, are going to be Bitcoin and Ethereum. Those are going to be the easy ones. But some of the other coins right below those guys, they're going to be taken along for the ride as well. Okay, the upshot of all this is this could be a very exciting period of time for those of you who are willing to take advantage of this timely information. You just need to be educated. You need to stay on top of this. I recommend you join a good crypto community where people share ideas. And of course, from time to time, I'm going to give you whatever insights that I have. And that's my little report for the day.
Well done, mate. That's a complicated topic, but you joined the dots beautifully.
Thank
and
you.
Showing us how that's a real bull market opportunity. So, ladies and gentlemen, what I would say to that report is make sure that you do something with that. If you're in the crypto space and you're interested in Bitcoin, you're interested in crypto and Ethereum and all that stuff, make sure you have a close look. Kind of verify what Ed's saying to you there and, trust, but verify, and go away and do your own research and your own homework as well, because you don't want to go piling in huge amounts of cash into something that you're not really sure is going to happen. And you also don't want to be doing something like that because you're worried about missing out because there's some sort of FOMO thing going on there for you as well. But to your point, I wrote a couple of things down there and I just want to get, a bit more of a deeper take on it there. It sounds to me like they're shaping the financial battlefield. They're setting everything up because what you said, BlackRock wouldn't do this unless they knew it was going to work, because why would they spend the resources doing that? But then the counter to that is the SEC slapping everybody pretty hard with fines and rules and regulations. So what's happening there? There's something going on there in the middle?
Well, okay, we'll know for sure when and if the SEC actually approves the ETF. Okay, now I'll promise you that the day they announce the approval, this thing is going to have a really big day to the upside. Now, it's because there's always a chance that they won't approve it. Okay, but I think that my guess is, it's buy the rumor, sell the news kind of event. Bitcoin has been moving up very dramatically over the past couple of weeks. This is why, because BlackRock is getting into the game. And I totally buy the first argument where the supply on Bitcoin is really, really small. And if you just have a small fraction of institutional money being diverted into Bitcoin.
Yeah, like that 1% that fella said, it'll just go to the moon. Yeah.
It has to. It just that's the supply and demand. That's the way Wall Street works. And so even though I know the game, I know what's going on here, and these guys are crooks. They're obviously crooks. They are in bed together. It's a conspiracy. Still, I can make money on it. So from a purely selfish perspective,
that's the Wall Street capitalist in you.
There you go. That's the game, right?
Yeah, it's the game, right? Yeah.
Right. So you have to look, if you're going to be a moralist and a purist, you probably shouldn't be anywhere near any of these markets anyway, because it is a game. Fundamentals don't mean anything. The usual stuff that Wall Street sells to people about how to decide which to buy, which to sell is bullshit. They don't believe any of that crap. That's the garbage they sell to the public, and they don't want you to trade. They don't want you to buy and sell and buy and sell, but they
want you to do that. They want to do that for you.
That's right. That's right. So you can't listen to what they're saying at face value. It's propaganda. It's not the government. They're telling you what they want to tell you. They're molding you. They have an agenda. And so you got to kind of know the game. I'm telling you, that's what the game is at the moment. I know what the game is, and I'm not going to sit here and not do Bitcoin. Big old BlackRock's in it, so I'm not going to get involved. I'm not going to taint myself by getting anything involved, by getting with BlackRock in any way. Hell, I want to make money. So this is
well, look, if you're going to get into crypto and you're going to do something like that, even if you're not in crypto, that's the way to do it, in my view, is with Bitcoin, because that's the really only real crypto.
Yeah.
The rest of it is some manipulated, fancy internet money, things like that. That guy said, I was a true believer of that stuff, and we've had that conversation before where I went completely stone cold on it. And even like just listening to that report, I'm stone cold on it still. It doesn't kind of edge me even closer to actually want to go get my credit card out and go back to Binance and buy some Bitcoin and hold on to it for the next 6 months in case that happens. Like I and if it rallies, I'm kind of like, whatever, man, stuff rallies all day long. It just doesn't kind of push me towards it. There is one question that I wanted to close out this segment with here, Ed, and as you were kind of doing that, the one big thing stuck out there that you didn't cover, and you may not know the answer to this, but why do you think BlackRock are doing this now? Why didn't they do this 6 years ago, 5 years ago? Why do you think the timing is happening now?
Yeah, well, even the big guys sometimes make mistakes, and they missed a boat. So in the very early days, Wall Street looked down their nose. They were arrogant. They looked down their nose at the entire crypto. Oh, these guys are.
Yeah, that fella summed it up. They kind of like, what are
right. And now but when they start losing money to this crowd, like you said, hey, $1 billion, what the hell? Go
$100 billion now.
$100 billion.
Hey.
Exactly. Now you're starting to put a dent in their bottom line, and they can't have that. So it's about money. It's about profits, and they see, but they knew that they couldn't just jump in because it's such a large operation that they knew that they would move the price of it all on their own, right? Because when the word got out that they were taking a serious interest in Bitcoin or whatever, the street is going to run up before they have a chance to take a significant position. So they need to find a way to drive it down. And I think that in hindsight, this big move that Bitcoin has had to the downside this past year was probably largely coordinated. It was a coordinated effort, and the SEC played a very integral role in that.
Slapping the exchanges and killing the price and getting everybody out of the market, making people like me go, no, I'm not playing that game anymore. I'm out of that. Yeah, that's exactly. It's what you said right at the start, right? If you're going to do something big, then you're going to short the thing, create rumors, and get rid of the price. And then as the price gets to the bottom, we'll find the bottom. The water will find its level. Okay, now it's time to get back in and make that happen. It's classic.
Well, okay. So couple things to keep in mind. First of all, the crypto market is still tiny as hell. The entire crypto space altogether has a market
compared
cap
to BlackRock itself, right?
That's right.
It's eye-watering, the scale of it.
Yeah, exactly. So this is so it doesn't take very much percentage-wise to move that group, much less just focusing, on Bitcoin. So not look. I'm not telling people to go out and buy Bitcoin. I'm not making a recommendation. I'm not a financial advisor. What the hell do I know about? I'm just sharing with you some I think clever insights and opinions.
Joining the dots.
Joining the dots, and you can do what you want with it. I have a little bit of Bitcoin. I got like $500. It's not even worth it. That I just got a couple of days ago. But I have some rules when I trade. You don't buy the rips. You buy the dips. Buy the dips, sell the rips, and that kind of thing. So, but I just want to make people aware out there, and for those who might give you a chance to do your own homework and look into it.
It definitely is big news, and well done on breaking that and joining the dots for people, because you're not going to see that in the mainstream. Those MSNBC reports kind of give you about 20% of what you had, like you're joining all of the dots together between all of it. So well done on that. All right, folks, let's take a little break and we'll be right back. In this crazy, uncertain world, we all need a way to protect and insulate ourselves from the outside forces that we simply cannot control. I'm a news junkie, and after a lifetime of constantly immersing myself in the darkness and the despair that engulfs the world, the path to shield myself and my family has become crystal clear. I want to invite you to come and join me in the Unspoken Truth community, where I'll show you how I protect my family from this crazy world. You'll get access to 3 masterclasses worth over $1,000, as well as our live events, training, and community of truthers just like you. Come on over to the unspokentruth.com.au and join us for just 50 cents a day. What are you waiting for? Get started now at the unspokentruth.com.au. All right, ladies and gentlemen, if you didn't know, the Australian government is trying to create a Ministry of Truth. So I'm not mucking around, and I'm not joking when I say this stuff. I wanted to kick off this little segment. I found a couple of graphics instead of trying to share my screen. I just kind of got some screenshots here for you. So I've got a quote here from JFK that I really like. And if you're watching this, folks, I want you to put your comments and opinions and your thoughts in the comments there for us, because we want to create this as something that's a bit interactive. We'd love to get your thoughts and opinions on what all of this actually means to you as an individual as well. And this is why I say you need to keep one eye on the news. This is why this stuff is so important, because it fundamentally affects each and every one of us at a slightly different level. But this is the foundation of our society. And when we talk about what we can and can't say and what we can and can't do, this JFK quote is really good. And I want to start with this. So he says, "We're not afraid to entrust," meaning the government, "we're not afraid to entrust the people with unpleasant facts, foreign ideas, alien philosophies, and competitive values. For a nation that is afraid to let its people judge the truth and falsehood in an open market is a nation that is afraid of its people." So JFK is essentially saying, say whatever you want, I don't care. Maybe you've got something right to say there. Maybe I can learn something from you. I've got 2 ears and 1 mouth. I listen twice as much as I speak, and maybe there's some opportunity. In Australia, Anthony Albanese, the most leftist-leaning Prime Minister we've ever had, says, "My government will establish a Ministry of Truth to judge what is misinformation and censor it." So if I suddenly said that Albo was not the infrastructure minister, is that misinformation or disinformation? Because he was the infrastructure minister. Are they going to censor me for saying that? Like, what I don't understand, and maybe you can help me here, Ed, because my mind is just like boggled, and it's all like jumbled up. There's all sorts of shit going on in my brain box upstairs there. There's all sorts of things happening in my brain. It's like going 1,000 miles an hour. And when I kind of talk about one thing, I can get on that target and I can talk about that target, but then, your brain works by connecting other things related to those targets. But if I said that Albo was not the infrastructure minister in a previous government, is that true or not true? Well, that's false, but is that mis or disinformation? I don't know. And who is the arbiter of that? And is that dangerous information to say something bad about a prime minister, about his history and about his past? Is that true? What if I concocted something from his childhood and said that, he attacked somebody, he was in a fight, he came from inner Sydney and he was in a gang and he was bashing people and he was stealing money and he was doing, is that mis or disinformation, or is that just some dickhead out on the internet saying whatever he wants to say because he doesn't like this person? I don't know. How does the government control something like that, Ed?
Well, listen, if we were to criminalize liars, we wouldn't have a Congress. We wouldn't.
Well, do the same rules apply to them?
Not the Democrats.
Hey, it won't stop transmission.
It depends on what you have.
Miss or disinformation? Miss or dis?
Yeah.
Oh, truth? But they sound good.
Listen, governments have to be really careful about what rights they grant and take away, because what can be given to you can be taken away from you. And when what goes around comes around. And if they're going to have a ministry of truth promoting their agenda, their belief systems, or what's going to happen when the next guy gets in and he also has a ministry of truth? You have to be careful about what kind of precedents you set.
But hold on a sec. I'm just trying to be practical for a sec, right? Put aside the 1984 George Orwell stuff. I don't want mis or disinformation out there either. Nobody does. Nobody wants to read bullshit. Nobody has time to troll through Twitter and go, oh, what a load of shit. Is this true or not? No, nobody wants that, right? So let's just agree that in theory is a good idea. But in practice, there's no way that you could stop somebody from saying what they want to say. And that's why communism and socialism doesn't work. That's the one and only reason that communism doesn't work, because you can't control what's in someone's mind, and therefore you can't control what they say.
You actually can control people's minds, and
well, we saw that. Yeah, that's okay. I retract. We can allow the government to control what's in your mind.
That's right. Look, and that is their agenda, right? That's what propaganda is for. Is to shape attitudes, shape opinions, right? And the degree to which you're good at your propaganda is the degree to which you can control your public, right? And but this is why more free speech is important. You want to have all of it, and by taking it in, you can get to the truth. And you might have to wade through a lot of garbage to find that truth eventually. But that's what you do as a critical thinking person. You take in all the information, because you never know. Sometimes even the liars will sometimes accidentally spit out a bit of truth on something. Right?
MSNBC did that just now.
There you go. Right.
They're not all bad, man. Come on, they have some good people on there.
Look. The best answer to speech that you do not like is more speech. You want to
on that point, I want you to hold that thought. I got a 1 minute report here from the Australian version of Throw Up in Your Own Mouth, MSNBC, and they do an accurate job of showing you actually what the intention of this is.
The government is pushing ahead with a plan to crack down on fake news, today unveiling draft laws taking aim at tech giants such as Google and Facebook. Political reporter Fiona Willan has filed this report.
The government wants these new laws in place by the end of the year. So today it's unveiled the draft bill outlining how it plans to keep tech giants in check by cracking down on digital platforms that allow damaging false information to spread. Today the Communications Minister said we saw examples of harmful fake news spreading during the pandemic when there were arson attacks.
You put that segment in there just for me.
Let me just back that up and say what she said there, because the reporter is like bang on.
The Communications Minister said we saw examples of harmful fake news spreading during the pandemic.
And all of the harmful fake news was spread by the mainstream media. So the government's talking about stomping out all this bullshit in social media.
Wait a minute. Wasn't she referring to the harmful news put out by the social media companies?
Well, here's the thing, because this is the problem, right? Here is the problem. Is listen to the context of her words again, because it's not really the reporter's words, it's the government's words.
We saw examples of harmful fake news spreading during the pandemic.
Harmful fake news spreading during the pandemic. But the harmful fake news spread in the pandemic came from mainstream media, which was the government saying that news.
But that's not what she was referring to, right? Wasn't she referring to the anti-vaxxers as
this is the irony, right? So if I take the context away of it,
right, it can mean either one. Yeah,
see what I'm doing?
Yeah, and very good.
And the irony of it is that a government minister like this woman here, who thinks that she thinks she's Xi Jinping. So this is the Australian version of Xi Jinping. So I'm going to refer to her as Xi Jinping from now on, because That's the world that she wants Australians to live in. And if you spoke to her, she'd be a perfectly reasonable, normal Australian person. She'd probably be really charismatic because politicians are pretty charismatic people. She'd be really nice. She'd be friendly. She'd be open to you. But behind that fake facade, make no mistake, ladies and gentlemen, she wants 500 cameras in your suburb. She wants facial recognition to track you. She wants to be able to, she's already listening to everything that you do online through apps on your phone, through TikTok. She's listening to everything that you do on Google by storing every bit of metadata that you look at when you're online on whatever browser that you're looking at. This person is the Australian version of Xi Jinping. And my view is that she's no better than Vladimir Putin, Xi Jinping, or Kim Jong-un.
So what I would ask her if I were a reporter would be, okay, so in the next administration, when they hire their own Minister of Truth, are you going to support that Minister of Truth?
Yeah, that's exactly right.
Yeah.
So, but the irony in this little segment of the report is that there was mis and disinformation during the pandemic, but the mis and disinformation was spread by the mainstream media.
Yeah, yeah.
Because on people's television, on their radio, and in their newspapers, it was saying all of the wrong things that we now know to be completely and 100% incorrect.
Yes.
We know that's 100% incorrect, but she's trying to censor social media companies. So what happens when a politician goes to a press conference like this lady is right now, and she's a politician, and she says something that's mis or disinformation? What happens to her? Because she is the person where mainstream media will just go, well, we're just reporting what you said. We didn't, It's not us. We didn't do it. So are you going to censor Channel 9 News now? But it was not Channel 9 News. It was you as a politician. So do you get a piece of sticky tape over your mouth and get thrown into the gulag? Like, none of this shit actually works. It doesn't make any sense. And to your point, Ed, the only answer to this is more speech. The only answer.
What she should be doing is she should be sending fruit baskets to all of the social media companies who carried her water during the pandemic.
Well, she was not there, right? So this is a new government.
Well, you know what I mean. You know what I mean.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, let's keep going.
When there are arson attacks on phone towers around the world, including in Australia, after the
arson attacks on phone towers around the world, including Australia, where, when, what are you talking about? Like, what a fucking load of garbage.
The 5G communications network was falsely linked to COVID-19.
How do you know that 5G is not linked to it? So you're saying it's falsely linked. So that's misinformation right there. Because you don't know that it's not linked. You don't know. There's no long-term study that's gone for 20 years to say that people that have had an injection are not affected by 5G. Sensitivity to electromagnetic energy is a real thing. People are sensitive to Wi-Fi signals. People are sensitive to mobile phone signals, to electricity. It is a real phenomenon. It's not fake. So how do you know that that is not true? So straight away, in the first 30 seconds of a Channel 9 news report, they're spreading misinformation. Because what they're doing is they're expecting me and you as retarded people to think that, well, actually not to think, to listen to what they're saying and take that as the truth. But in just 30 seconds of a report, there's two things that they've said that could be completely incorrect. And there's no way for me as an individual to do anything about it. But I sit here and watch it and go, I just put my hand up and go, I stop the video and go, bullshit. And then I stop the video again and go, bullshit. I'm just calling BS on it, right? Because I'm allowed to. And if that's her opinion as the reporter or as the government, that's fine. They're allowed to believe that, and I'm allowed to disagree with them. But essentially, the Ministry of Truth says that you're no longer allowed to disagree that 5G has some effect on people that had COVID or an injection or a vaccination or something. And I'm not saying that it does or it doesn't. I'm saying that I don't know. But they're saying to you that definitively it's a conspiracy theory, but you don't know.
You know, keeping on top of misinformation, that'd be exhausting.
I know, who could be bothered? I mean, why would you want to? I'm fucking exhausted now, man, in 30 seconds of a Channel 9 report.
And I hope she has some assistance.
No, she doesn't. She's going to hand it off to a third party, party that they'll pay millions of dollars to, that's the government will go, oh, it's not me. It's not me. Yeah. We know that how it works.
In an online conspiracy. The proposed new laws will take aim at social media giants, dating sites, search engines, online marketplaces and more. They could...
Notice how they don't say television, mainstream media.
be hit with fines of around $3 and $7 million.
Oh,
so
there
by
it
that
is.
rationale,
there it is. There it is. They beat me to it. Damn it! You beat me to it. I was good. This smells to me like a shakedown operation.
By that rationale, this report here should be fined between $3 million and $7 million, whatever she said. I can't even remember. This report should be fined because they're spreading mis and disinformation by saying that 5G is not connected to something, whatever that is, whatever that connection. You don't know, but you're making a definitive claim on mainstream media that you simply cannot refute. You cannot, and it just doesn't make sense.
Who decides on the amount of the fine? Her?
Well, the government does.
Okay.
Let's just back that up a bit because I keep interrupting it.
Okay, yeah.
I'll let it play and let's have a laugh.
Places and more. They could be hit with fines of around $3 and $7 million if they don't take proper steps to tackle fake news. The communications watchdog would also have new powers to demand documents from digital companies relating to dis and misinformation.
This is an important step to keep all Australians safe because we know how harmful.
How many times did you hear that? There it is. Ready?
Ready? And safe because
safe, but I'm not unsafe, Michelle. I'm not unsafe. I'm not unsafe from watching a video or reading a piece of content that somebody wrote, whether it's true or it's not. There's books on my shelf behind me that are 100% fake because they're fiction novels. But I everything that I sit down and watch over on the television over there on Netflix at nighttime with my missus when I'm relaxing is 100% fake. It's a story. And I'm not unsafe because I'm listening to a story or watching a TV show, but why do they think that we're not safe? Why is that?
Okay, so do these people that she's going to end up fining, do they have any recourse for appeals or pushing back or do they have to pay? I mean,
well, it'll be a process, right? So we know that the Australian government, the way that they censor you. So during COVID, what they did is they employed a third-party company. Yeah. And in that third-party company, they searched through social media, Facebook groups, Twitter, Instagram, all of the platforms. And then when they saw something that they thought that was outside the terms and conditions of that platform, they reported it to the government. And then the Department of Homeland Affairs, or whatever the fuck they're called, reported that to the actual company, to YouTube, to Facebook, to Twitter, and said, oi, here's another post that is in breach of your terms and conditions.
Right.
So the government has paid a company to go out and sift through social media to find posts that are outside the terms and conditions of that. But what can you do? What terms and conditions can Facebook or Instagram or anybody put out there to say that what Rob is talking about is mis or disinformation? Because if I said Michelle Rowland, her qualifications are completely fake. They're fake. I don't believe that she has that university degree. I don't believe that she has that business. I don't believe that she was truthful on her parliamentary disclosure documents. And if I made a video about that and I put that on YouTube and said, she is a fake, she's a phony, and she's a liar. Now, okay, cool. So I said it. I said it publicly. Now go away and prove me wrong. Prove it. Prove it. Because it's not up to me to prove that what I'm saying is true. It's up to you to prove that I'm wrong. So the burden of proof is now on the platform. And now if somebody in social media is sifting through my video going, Rob just said Michelle Rowland's credentials are fake, that's mis or disinformation. You need to take that video down or cut out that piece of content because it's not true.
Okay. Okay. So at the very least, okay, they're going to create an atmosphere of intimidation here, right?
Yep. Exactly.
You better think twice before you start saying things that are not government approved.
Put your pen down and get your finger up. You better think fucking twice, pal.
Well, in the terms of agreement, I'll promise you what is going to go into all these social media terms of agreement are going to be things like we reserve the right to increase your fees, because they're going to have to, this is going to be passed on to the consumer, right? All these fees, Microsoft all the time. Remember France and the EU on a regular basis, they fine Google and Facebook. They're shakedown operations too. That's how they make quick, easy money. And these operations, and Google and Facebook, they say, well, it's the cost of doing business, so we'll just pass it on to the consumer. They find ways to make it up. So all she's doing in here is promoting, a higher standard of living for Aussies. Right?
But she wants to keep us safe. You know, my definition.
Okay, that's another thing. That's another thing. All right. So, can you give us a definition of safe? What do you mean by safe?
My definition.
I promise you, she won't have an answer for that.
That's right. But most normal people, your definition of safe is when you get in your car and you turn the ignition on, you drive, the vehicle comes on, the blinkers work, the headlights work, the tail lights work, the vehicle operates in accordance with what you would expect it to. The vehicle is safe for me to operate. And you know what? If one of the headlights wasn't working, is it not safe? No, it's still drivable. I just probably shouldn't drive it at nighttime if the headlights don't work, right? So, you know, where do you draw the line? It's stupid. The government regulates aviation. It regulates the automotive industry. It regulates thousands of industries across hundreds of different categories for a variety of different reasons so people don't get hurt, so they don't physically get hurt. The reason I can't drive around my car or get my car registered with bald tires is because if I go around the corner a little bit too fast in the wet or the dry, the car might spin out and I might hurt myself or somebody else. That's a good idea. I like that idea. But the idea of me getting hurt from reading something is what she's trying to keep me safe from. So to your point, when you say, what's the definition of safe? I would go the other way and say, what do you think is going to make me unsafe? What can I possibly read that would make me unsafe? How is my physical security impacted by something that I read? Well, it's not. It never is.
Well, people like her colleagues at that university, these are the people who invented the notion of safe spaces in colleges, right? Oh, he's saying something that's making me distressed. You know, he called me a beautiful woman. How dare he call me a beautiful woman? I need a safe space. So they have little rooms set aside for the people who feel stressed because, so this idea of safe space, listen, this is such a first world problem, right? You know,
and no one in Afghanistan's worried about this.
That's right. You know,
or Nigeria.
You know, it goes back to, you know, strong men, soft men, right? You know, strong men.
Well, Xi Jinping here on the screen thinks that this is a good idea. Let's round out this report. Sorry,
good. Oh, good. Cool.
All right, you safe?
Yeah.
You're not going to be triggered by anything she's going to say? This is what a real snowflake looks like, ladies and gentlemen.
Let me get my blankie before I go. Let me get my blankie. Okay.
This is actually, you know, when you hear the young generation are a bunch of snowflakes, this is what epitomizes the Xi Jinping snowflake. That's actually, you know, maybe how she should be referred to from now on. The Xi Jinping snowflake, the totalitarian dictator that has to keep us safe. She must feel unsafe herself. All right, here we go.
We know how harmful mis and disinformation can be. We know how difficult it is to stop that spread once it takes hold.
Misinformation is, you know, fake information, whether that's text, pictures, video, audio, that gives a false narrative to try to, you know, change someone's perception in a negative way.
So that guy's just given the definition of it. So that's pretty
called
much
propaganda.
End of the report, right? So the government propaganda, right, that you need to take an experimental medicine that will keep you safe and you'll keep everybody else around you safe. And there's no side effects. You'll be okay. You'll be completely fine, man. You'll be totally 100% fine. When it came out, it had 100% efficacy and, you know, people, it stopped transmission in its, everything was safe. It was safe. Everything was, I'm safe. I'm so safe. I live in Australia. Let me just kind of join the dots here for you folks. There's a link down in the description already. I put it in there when I created this stream for the actual legislation. So they're looking for consultation on that legislation. So if you're an Aussie and you're watching this, you can have a checkers of that and you can see exactly where that is. But we have that lady there on the screen, Ed. She was the communications minister, this woman here that you just saw at the press conference. But there's another person that kind of instigated all of this who comes from the E-Safety Commissioner of Australia. She used to actually work at Twitter, and she also is a member of none other than the World Economic Forum. So
at least she's cute.
No shit, right? don't be fooled by Justin Trudeau's good looks and his charisma. He's a totalitarian dictator, no better than Pablo Escobar in running a drug cartel. No better than, I don't know, the Ayatollah in Iran. These people just want to hold on to power at all costs, and they'll do anything that they can to hold on to the power that they've got, and they'll do everything humanly possible to shut you up. It is just unbelievable. And it's hard to believe that that's happening in Australia. It's hard to believe that these people are trying to implement legislation that will silence free companies. You know, these companies are out there operating in the world, providing services. They're doing business in a legitimate way, and they're trying to stop the way that they actually do business in the name of safety. Because when something is safe, when the government is saying that there's an emergency and there's a perpetual emergency about mis and disinformation, I am then forced to give you some of my rights. And the more rights that I give to you as an individual to the government, the more I'm giving and handing over to you, the more you're going to take. And then you have this many rights now, and then you hand them over, and you take away my everything from what I can say to what I can see to what my medical autonomy is that I put in my body. But what you'll never do is, for me personally, and you're 100% right, Ed, when you say that they can control your mind, because the zombies here in Australia did everything that the Australian government told them to do. And they were, I'm just going to call it out. I'll die on this hill all day long. I'll call it out. They're just so unbelievably trusting of people that just don't care about you. They do not care about you. They don't see you. They're not a servant of you. You are a subject of theirs. They're elected by us, but the reality is they never, ever do anything on our behalf. They'll pretend like that they do something on our behalf, but the reality is they are just liars, and they're trying to take away your freedom and your autonomy at every moment of the day. And I'll get off my high horse here in a sec. I saw Anthony Albanese say that the voice is something that will bring Australians together. But I've never seen anything, and I'm 46 years old, I've never seen anything in Australian history, and I've been an avid follower of Australian politics my whole adult life, and I've always been into this stuff, but I've never seen anything that's divided Australia more. And he says it will bring Australia together. But it didn't bring Australia together because it's divided right down the centre. And to your point, you talk about it in American politics all the time, Ed, that American politics is so divisive, it's tribal. One side says this, the other side says that. And there's a very small minority in the middle that make the decisions about if it goes left or it goes right, if it's red or it's blue. And the same would be true here about the voice. The Prime Minister of Australia, the political leadership of Australia have divided Australia down the middle. But the damage has been done. And this is the problem that I've got with all of this, is the damage has already been done with this ACMA regulation, where the Ministry of Truth comes out and says that they want to censor you. They say that they want to quiet you. And even if that legislation didn't get up and it didn't pass, or if it didn't really affect me as an individual, the point is they've done it. Even if the voice to Parliament doesn't get up, the point is you've done it and you've divided Australians. And now Australians are never going to look at each other the same. And the trust in government is gone. The public's trust in your ability to do what it is that you say you're going to do, to act on our behalf and in our best interest, is completely and totally gone.
Is it?
I think the next election will prove that. Yes.
Okay.
But I could be completely wrong. I could be misjudging it completely.
We've got it on tape. I mean, you,
there it is. You make these stock market predictions that always come true. We'll make a political one.
Yeah, there you go. Look, good. I'm glad you have an opinion. As long as we have it on tape, so we can come back to it.
So we can come back and see how wrong I was. I've never been so wrong about so many things in all my life, man.
Because listen, I mean, look at the John Fetterman election. How the hell? Look at the Biden-Trump election. How the hell? You would think, haven't you learned your lesson? When is enough enough? And California, for crying out loud, for generations, they keep electing the same people doing the same bad stuff, but they keep electing them.
But the difference between American politics and Australian politics is it's not compulsory for you guys to vote. So the people that vote, the people that are winning these elections, are just able to rally more people to come out behind their cause. In Australia, everyone has to vote. But why on earth did everybody vote for Daniel Andrews? Anything was better than Scott Morrison. I understand why Australians voted for Anthony Albanese. Give Labor a go. All right, let's see.
I'll be on the record. I think compulsory voting is evil. I don't think.
Oh, you don't like it?
No, I think it's very anti-democratic. But ironically, because
it's the irony of it, right?
Right, because not voting is a kind of a vote.
Yes.
You're voting. You don't have anything to do with the system. You don't believe in any of these guys. You don't trust any of these guys. It is a form of protest. So people should have the right not to vote. It's like, no, you have to participate in society. You want to be a hermit out in the backwoods of Australia? No,
yes.
You got to come in. You got to come in.
Well, you still have to vote, pal.
That's
if
right.
you don't vote, we're going to fine you.
That's right. You still got to come to town every 4 years, and I'm
going to put the postal vote in and make it happen that way as well. My question to you, Ed, is that I wonder personally, where does this all end? And we can see where this is going. We can kind of like, if I look up and out, I can see Xi Jinping and totalitarian China. And then I see Kim Jong-un across the border in North Korea. And what I see in Kim Jong-un is they think that Kim Jong-un is a god, is a deity. He's a living deity in their culture. And his family are a family of gods. And they worship him as if he was God. That is the religion. Is the Kim Jong-un.
Do they though? I mean,
no, they do. That's the propaganda that they put out.
Yeah,
right? So
yeah. I think that if that was actually a democracy one day, I don't think you would get through the first round.
No, of course not. But what I'm saying is that family and that dynasty, if you like, has positioned themselves as the gods and the deities of their country. Xi Jinping is not that. Xi Jinping is a dictatorial ruler who does whatever he wants. There's only like a million members of the Communist Party or whatever it is. No, sorry, 10 million members of the Communist Party, but there's 1 billion Chinese people or some shit like that. So it's a very small percentage of the Chinese population that are actually members, card-carrying members of the CCP. But he rules that country as if he was like a mobster, gangster boss. He stomps out all the corruption and he has the final say. He's the don of the family, so to speak. And here in Australia, that communications minister thinks that she is the Xi Jinping and the Kim Jong-un of Australia. She wants that dictatorial power that's given to her through legislation to say what you can and can't say, because that's what they do in China. But she also wants to be seen as the god, as the deity. That's my view. That's how her attitude and her persona comes off. You think that you are the Kim Jong-un and the living deity of Australia, but nothing could be further from the truth. Nothing could be further from the truth. You are just a disgusting, abhorrent human being trying to silence people, which I believe she should be silenced completely. She should be completely and totally silenced and removed from the political scene and cast into the backwater of Australian society, because she'll be the one that's responsible for the destruction of society if she stamps out free speech. If I'm suddenly not allowed to go on YouTube and say these things and I get in trouble for saying these things, she'll be personally responsible for the destruction of Australian society, because our society will cease to exist as it was.
Okay, so the question becomes, why do people put up with her, with the idea of her?
So the answer to that question, it validates 100% of what I've been saying, is that no politician in any country on planet Earth serves you as a constituent.
Right.
You vote for somebody in under the premise and the idea that they're going to work for you and serve you as a member of the public because you're the one that elected them. But the reality is the opposite. They don't serve you. You are a subject of theirs, and you'll do as you're told. Otherwise, you'll be off to the gulag, digital and physical gulag.
Yeah. Well, as you've heard me say several times, my theory is that we can attribute all of our problems in society down to two things: bad parenting and a really bad school system.
Yeah.
The leftists have been, at least in America, they've been in control of our school system for generations now. They've been indoctrinating our children for an awful long time. So their idea of what is acceptable behavior has been warped. That's why the values of America are really threatened, because of a really poor educational system and really bad, passing down from generation to generation of what makes, America great. And every society is essentially on a sliding scale between, true democracy on the one end and dictatorship, communism on the other end, right? And along the way, societies will go up and down that scale. And right now, we are sliding toward the other end of that scale, where dictums are accepted more and more by the public. That comes through generational change. The poor education system and bad parenting, and what people are willing to accept. The pain people are willing to endure for the sake of the tribe, for the sake of the ideology. And got to give the communists credit. They've made a lot of inroads in our country. Unfortunately,
they've been successful in infiltrating Australian politics, American politics on the left. Here's a question that I don't know the answer to, but it's not a rhetorical question. So if I wanted to push back against this so-called draft legislation that they're creating to do all of these things, what would I need to do? Well, I could go to that website, I could register my complaint, I could look at my feedback, and there'd be someone in government that goes, hey, boss, to that lady, we've got some feedback here, here's the concerns, here's what we do, and there's people filtering through those legislation. But the reality is they'll take on board everything that you say, and they'll go and do whatever they want anyway. Because no one in their right mind wants to censor free speech. No one in their right mind wants to do that. But the people that believe that, this is my belief, are the ones on the right and in the center that form part of the silent majority. And the silent majority rarely speak out, but we have to speak out. Otherwise, we're no longer going to be able to speak out. In Perth, earlier in the week, there was some people that have been protesting out the front of the governor's house, and what they want is a new election. They're calling for a new election. And they're saying, hey, and so these people turn up periodically throughout the day and they protest, they stand out the front, they hold banners. And most of them are kind of like older people. They're in their like late 50s and 60s. They're not like Antifa freaks running around with black balaclavas and throwing Molotov cocktails at the governor's house. They're standing out the front protesting. And the police came along and said, you can no longer protest here. Yeah, you're not allowed to do that.
Of course.
And they've taken people's ability away to assemble. And if you want to conduct a protest and go and assemble in Western Australia now, you have to fill in all the application forms and do that. And somebody has to be in charge of it. Somebody has to put their name to it. But part of the conditions of doing the protest and doing that is if something goes wrong as a result of the protest, that person with their name in the document has to pay for everything. So if somebody tramples a garden or pulls down a sign or it gets a bit kind of ugly and it gets people are carrying on, then that individual with their name on the actual document is forced to pay.
Sure.
If you don't pay the fines, you don't pay for that, you're going to be hauled off to jail. So the government has taken your ability away to protest and your right of assembly to protest by using all of these totalitarian methods. But the people that want to go and protest, the ones on the right, now can no longer do it. So we have to find new ways of doing that. And the new way of doing that is online and creating online communities to come back and to talk to your local members and your politicians to do that. But now the government is trying to get rid of that as well. So where does this end? Where does it end?
Okay. Yeah. Personally, I don't think we need new ways of getting the word out. I think we need our own propaganda machine. The socialists,
yes, exactly.
They have a really good marketing campaign, right? Everything's for free. If you want to, we'll give you everything for free. Universal
problem is they can shut our propaganda machine down here on YouTube. That's the problem. So we have to go to places where they can't encroach upon us.
Yeah,
they can't stop us.
But people of like minds can still find ways of finding people that they believe. The question is, the thing with the conservatives and traditionalists is they tend to be agreeable people. What the hell, man? Live your life. Freedom.
Don't worry about that legislation. It'll be fine.
Yeah. That whatever. Whereas the leftists, they are not agreeable people. They're loud and they make noise, and the squeaky wheel gets the grease, right? The non-agreeable people tend to get their way because the agreeable people, they got lives to live. Whatever, man. So we're kind of like at a built-in disadvantage there, in that I would rather not spend my time, picketing tuck bathing suits outside of Target every day. I got,
of course, yeah.
I got things to do, and so Target takes that as a green light to do more of that stuff, right? And so the leftists, they'll push and push it. They'll push it to see what they can get away with. Can we get away with having transgender men competing against women in sports? Can we get away with that? Oh, come on, we can't possibly get away. Let's give it a try to see what happens. And then one day we find ourselves here. Hey, do you think we can get away with having transgender men doing twerking performances in front of our kindergartens?
Yes, we can.
Oh, there's no way we get away with that. Hey, let's just try it. And so the more that we do not push back, the more they keep pushing, right? So we have to push back. Now there is some good science here. In this Bud Light controversy, people stopped buying the beers. During the Target controversy, people stopped going to Target. So now these corporations, on the one hand, they got bigger ambitions. They're willing to lose $10 billion in revenues because they want that precious ESG money, coming in. They want those precious ESG institutional investors, sending, their money. So they're willing to, forego taking care of their customers, catering to the customers because, they're catering to the big guy in Switzerland. So that's that's the real objective. But people are they are pushing back in that way. So there are little glimmers of hope out there that people are starting to stand up for the traditional values. You're seeing parents showing up at PTA meetings and at city council meetings complaining about the CRT garbage being brought into the school system.
Yeah, they're pushing back.
They're pushing back. Now they're being labeled as domestic terrorists for doing that. By our own FBI. Yeah,
the guy was black, man. What are you calling him that for?
yeah, it doesn't matter. But so there are glimmers of hope out there that the silent majority, and I do believe that America is essentially a center-right country. All right, but the loud people are all on the left. And the left owns the media, so that's the drumbeat we get every day about this stupid stuff that's happening. And do the people show up at elections? Well, I know in Australia, of course, if you show up at elections, they got to show up at elections.
And you still vote for these idiots on the left.
Yeah,
what are you doing?
So what the
Stop
hell?
Cut it out. For heaven's sake, there is alternatives out there. Yesterday I'll close out the show here today with this, Ed, and one of the things that I was thinking, was how can I get more politically active? I don't want to be a politician. I just wouldn't fit in as a tiny cog in a giant machine there. I don't think I could make much difference, but I think I can rally more people and make more of a difference on the outside of politics. So I spent a couple of hours yesterday in a semi-day off looking at all of the Australian political parties that are out there. And there's not as many as you think. I think there's some 22 or something registered Australian political parties. Not many.
22? That's not many? 22?
Well,
how does anyone get elected?
Well, you've got Labor, Liberal, Nationals, Greens. They're the four big parties. And then you've got all the periphery ones, right? You've got Shooters, Hunters, and Farmers Party. And then you've got Legalised Cannabis Party and Christian Party. And there's a series of them like this.
Fuck.
And when you see our ballot papers, Ed, I'll find a picture for you. The ballot papers are like 1.5 meters long. And then you either vote above the line or vote below the line. And it's no wonder that Labor, Liberal, Greens, and the Nationals continue to win elections, is because when you look at the way that you vote, you go, it's compulsory for me to vote. I rock in there, someone shoves some shit in my hand, I look at how to vote. Who's that Liberal guy? Yeah, just put that guy in. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. There you go. And then above and below the line, you can either mark one box above the line or all the boxes below. See, I can't even remember. I've voted so many times in my life, but I still can't remember how many boxes do you mark above the line and then below the line. Everyone's like, So part of the problem that we have here in Australia is the confusion and the discourse in relation to that. And that's a problem with the government, right? The government hasn't actually explained to you exactly how to do that. But they have done a pretty, in their defense, they have done a pretty good job of saying, this is how you do it. The way the preferences work, it's not what you think. Here's how there's a lot of information out there, but it's up to the individual to actually consume that information and do something with it. And most people are like, what do I care about politics, man? Who gives a fuck? Don't pay attention to it. But you have to start paying attention, because otherwise we're going to end up with Xi Jinping and the communication minister who thinks she's a living deity to do whatever she wants. That's why you have to pay attention.
Look, that's your fucking problem, man. Your energy is too dispersed.
Ed's going to solve the problem here for us all.
I'm going to solve the problem here. Get that down to 4 parties, okay?
Well, it really is 4 parties when you think about it.
Politics is all about marketing to begin with, right?
Yes, 100%.
Whoever the best marketer, is going to win.
And I think that's how we can solve that problem in Australia. I think that's how we can solve the problem of the major parties winning. And it's got nothing to do with money. It's got to do with getting the message to the right people at the right time to make sure it resonates with them.
Well, that and if you have so many options to choose between, and just one of those guys stands out just enough, their propaganda is just,
and that's marketing.
A little, they're in. So there's very little room for real competition in that environment, because one group is obviously some guy is going to be better than all the others in their marketing, and that's the guy who's going to get in. It's the same thing in England, right? They have all their parties. I think, and I think hey, Polly, shout out to Polly there, Polly in the Netherlands. Same thing in the Netherlands. Now, shout out to the Netherlands, the farmers. They had a surprise win, right?
They did.
The farmers
they absolutely did. Yeah.
Okay. And so there are little glimmers of hope around the world where people voted, the right way. I don't know how much difference that's going to make, because there's still, the European Union is still full on trying to confiscate all the farms.
That's the most corrupt organization on planet Earth, man.
Yeah. So but at least the people, at least, symbolically made their voices heard that, hey, we don't like this. I don't know. But, there's so many parties to choose from that nobody has any real authority, I think, over that lasts very long. And don't all these countries also have these, confidence vote of confidence along the way,
vote of no confidence and
So once you get in, you might not even be in for the full term, because someone's going to complain enough, and then they can put up so you're constantly getting reelected, and there's always a new guy. You don't get a chance for one guy to float to the top. Italy voted that conservative woman, right? So there are little pockets of hope around the world.
To your point about marketing, I think what Australian politicians have, the problem that they have is a recognition problem, which is marketing, of course. But, when I go to vote and I go to the local primary school to vote, there's pictures of different people there on the fence, whatever party they are. And there's some members of parties wearing different colored T-shirts, handing out things, they're how to vote cards. If you want to vote for the Greens, here's how you vote for the Greens. If you want to vote for Labor, here's how you vote for Labor. So they're handing me the how to vote card to do that, because I kind of heard something on the periphery about, I like that Greens policy, let me vote for that Greenie guy, that looks good to me. And I don't know what you can do to improve their recognition like that, because in their current circumstance, it's not working. But I do have several ideas how to solve that problem for the minor parties, and how to compete at scale with these larger political parties that have got really deep pockets. Because the reason that the smaller parties can't compete with Labor, Liberal, Greens and Nationals and all of those other parties is because they don't have the budgets. But you don't need budgets. The budget is irrelevant. You don't need millions of dollars to advertise. You need some money to advertise, and they do have that, but you don't need millions of dollars. What you need is policies that people can get behind, and a way to get those policies in front of the right people at the right time, in the right seats, that you can unhinge the person that's actually there. So these smaller minor parties are lacking. You guys have it really good in America, where you've got these political strategists, and these people get paid literally millions of dollars to get these politicians elected, because all the lobbyists are getting all the money to do this, to make this happen. So the way that your system works is far better from a marketing perspective and a branding perspective. And we can learn a lot about that from you guys in America, and apply some of that here in Australia to unseat a lot of these idiot politicians like this communications minister who thinks she's a living deity. And, my mission has to be in the next couple of months to tell as many human beings as fast as possible that whatever you do, go to that website, let's create a petition, let's get rid of that. We can't have people like that in charge trying to censor us. We can't. You can't, whether that's me as an individual, or Meta or Twitter or YouTube, you can't have a government censoring people. You can't. You can't do that. It won't work.
Well, as far as getting obscure people elected, have you ever thought about bribes? That's one way to go.
political lobbying. The cronyism of the state there in America. There's a lot to learn.
But I do have one solution for those minor parties out there is name recognition.
That's exactly right. That's what you call it in American politics, right?
There you go.
It's not just brand; it's name recognition.
That's right.
I want to vote for that guy because I heard about this policy, and those policies are connected to that person.
Well, not even that. Right. So it's even simpler than that. Find a likable Hugh Jackman or Chris Hemsworth. Recruit those guys to run. People that people that are likable, right? And they like. I don't care what his policy is. I'll vote for him. So you just got to find someone who's likable.
That's what they did about Joe Biden, man. That's why Donald Trump has such a hard time because he's just not a nice person.
Biden was not likable.
Nobody knows what Biden was. He was in his basement the whole time, man.
No, he had bull. That was again down to the sliver, right? Just one
literally,
the sliver.
literally right down to the wire.
And we'll say that for another, but no, that election was stolen. It was Trump did win.
But now you're going to get us cancelled in the
last
I know.
Are we going to
cut that shit out?
Are we going to get comments? Look, I accept Joe Biden as a president, but I do believe that it was a rigged thing. And boy, I'm just waiting for the comments here and offline. Bring it on. Let's
bring it.
Listen,
bring it.
I am by nature a provocateur. I will sometimes say things that I don't even believe just to get a reaction out of people.
Yeah, shit stirring is like your favorite pastime. I kind of get that. Well, Ed, it's been an absolutely a full show today. That was a lot of fun. I really appreciate you indulging me and my high horse, and well done on the ETF and the Bitcoin stuff, folks. Make sure you do something with that. Make sure you pop on over and check us out as a podcast as well. Just pop open your favorite podcasting app, Spotify, Apple Podcast, or whatever it might be for you. You can get some unspoken truth in your ears. Make sure you come on over to Telegram. The links are all in the description, folks. Make sure you come on over to Telegram, join the channel over there, and pop on over to Twitter as well. All right, let's wrap up today's show. How do we end this again? God save the Queen.
God save the Queen.
God, we have to do the devil worshipping Hollywood symbol and say God save the Queen to confuse everybody.
That's the Boy Scouts to do.
No, remember Winston Churchill went like that, and they were like, no, boss, you got to do it like that.
Yeah.
Not like that. That means up yours. That means
oh, really? Okay.
So we go to like that. God save the Queen with the devil worshipping shit from Hollywood. All right, let's get out of here. See you tomorrow. Same bat time.
Same bat channel.
Bye, everyone.